Okay, hi, I'm Tejinder. I hope you can all hear me. Tejinder Gill from, a bit closer, from Willoughby City Council. I'm the Sustainability and Waste Education Officer there, and I'm just going to talk briefly about our sustainable food policy that we have at Council. The policy was developed in response to a motion put to Council by one of our councillors, Lynn Saville, who's always been very heavily involved in the food programme. And so it was developed and has only been ratified for a year, so it was just in June of last year that it was ratified. There were four main aims that this policy really was looking at. The main points that we had was we were looking at health promotion within our community, reducing carbon dioxide emissions and the environmental impacts, maintaining an affordable and secure food supply, and supporting ethical food production and distribution. So, as I said, it was ratified by Council, but of course having a policy is a first step, but the hard part of it is really the implementation. And there was an implementation plan written with the policy. Unfortunately, the staff member from Corporate Services Division who drew up the policy left, and that sort of fell in a hole in a way. And so the implementation really hasn't happened as much as we would like. So I think what we're going to do probably is revisit the policy. It's actually quite lengthy when you look at it. It's I haven't bought copies because it is quite lengthy, but it's on our website, and I can chat to people later if you want to have a look at the reference. But I think ideally for a policy we'd be better off, what we'd like to do is have a 2-page, very succinct policy, and then have all of the documentation with it so that people can then reference from there. So one of the ones that I was just going to talk about quickly is our sustainable purchasing policy, which we drew up. This was actually done with a lot of consultation with all of the major purchasers in Council. Everyone in Council will know that with all of our decentralised purchasing, it's actually very hard to control what you're purchasing food-wise or anything else. And so what we try to do with the purchasing policy is get all the major purchasers together to draw up the policy, and then we drew up guidelines for individual products that they were using. And so it was very hands-on, and we were able to implement it through those purchasers to actually go out in Council and do that. Now, unfortunately, that's where we've fallen down a little bit with the food policy, in that we haven't had that implementation happening. So I guess that's one of the main things you need to do is the policies are fabulous, because obviously if you've got a committed staff member who's really into it, then they've got this policy that they can take to their manager and say, this is part of what we're supposed to be doing, and so I'd really like your support. I guess the issue is always going to be budget, because we haven't allocated extra budget to a sustainable food policy, but I think that's going to be more for individual areas to look at and decide whether the manager is happy to do that, because of the separation, we really can't do it as an overarching principle that you've got to have this much extra budget allocated to sustainable food or sustainable purchasing. So I guess, as I said, what we'll look at is perhaps having a lot more consultation, because that's the other big thing, is that the policy was drawn up and there was some initial consultation with the Sustainable Environment branch and with the food providers, and then the policy was written. And I think it would be really good to have more input to see whether is this actually practical from your point of view. We had concern that maybe if we were going down this track of having these sustainable food choices, we actually weren't going to be catering to customer expectations. So if we had people coming to our cafes, maybe they might want to drink Coke and eat chocolate rather than have healthy food only. So part of the policy also is that you have the choices there. You actually provide the choices for people, and hope that, keep an eye on it, and hope that over time people are choosing the healthier choices, and you can perhaps start to get rid of some of the less healthy choices that you'd prefer not to be offering. But yeah, sorry, that's been a really quick summary. As I said, I've got all the documentation, so if any of you want to have a look at what our policy involves, what the guidelines are, and everything, I've got it here, and I'll leave it there.